as he did every morning. Detective Carl Lambert looked at the board which detailed the stagnate investigation into the abduction and murders of multiple women throughout the county. His county. Some psychopath thought he could come in and pluck women up off the street and brutalize them in a manner which still gave Carl nightmares. The monster hadn't made one mistake yet. He didn't leave hair or fibers anywhere to be found. No trace samples of biological waste or tissue. With each day, Carl grew more frustrated. He'll catch the son of a bitch or die trying. Penelope Davis, age 24, first body found. Karen Alexandra, age 28, wife and mother, second body found. Emily Hatters, age 19, third body found. Abigail Nash, age 26, escaped. Kim Suiters, age 29, managed to get out of a moving vehicle while under the influence of chloroform. Tiffany Calloway, age 30, abducted. Not long after someone reported seeing Tiffany Calloway yanked from her car and shoved into an awaiting SUV. Another call came in and stated she heard a terrified woman screaming in an alleyway, the same place he found the two men in earlier that afternoon. Carl had found Tiffany Calloway's handbag near a dumpster in the back corner of the alley. Brian Samuel Brinkley. Up until 5 years ago, the man didn't exist. Carl couldn't find a single record that went past half a decade old. He grew even more suspicious when he took both men in for fingerprinting, and it became known neither male had fingerprints. The other man, Raphael Smith, he hadn't even provided them with his own name. Smith. They both must have thought Carl had been born yesterday. Why not call himself John Doe? They could lie with their mouths or by omission, and in the end, Carl would find secrets they had hidden. He'd delve so deep into their past, he would able to tell the date and time each one ever so much as jaywalked across a quiet street. Once he got the names from his crime scene loiterers, he knew right away something lay beneath the surface. His suspicious nature couldn't get past Raphael and his fake last name. But his focus remained squarely on the one who set off warning bells all over the place. Brian's name had been linked as a possible suspect with the investigation into Abigail Nash's attack. They'd gone so far as to take a DNA sample from Brian to compare it to the blood and skin residue on Abigail Nash's car keys. He had to wait at least 72 hours for the comparison to be done after he'd called in every favor and pleaded his case. After 16 years on the force, he'd managed to accumulate more than his fair share of favors and IOUs. The time had come to collect, and he called in every single one. The lab had exactly 1 hour before he called them after the 72-hour waiting period. These types of crimes didn't happen here, not in his neck of the woods. This wasn't a big city like New York, or a wild one filled with tourists and newcomers like New Orleans or Daytona. He had a grand total of 3 people capable of working a homicide at all, let alone one which included both rape and murder. Carl had called in the FBI and any other agency that might help protect his citizens, but it would be days before someone from the federal government saw fit to stop by. The telephone rang and interrupted his thoughts. The caller ID confirmed he wouldn't have to be placing a call to the lab after all. "Detective Lambert," he said into the mouthpiece of the telephone.
Hello, Detective. This is Dr. Gloria Hodgins from Biosystems.
"Do you have the results?" He saw no reason to delay the information he needed with polite social graces.
No, sir. All 3 swab samples were tested and showed no sign of any DNA to test against the blood residue found on the keys.
I watched as the lab technician swabbed the inside of the suspect's mouth. I even had him take a 3rd sample. What do you mean there's no DNA? It's saliva. No fingerprints? No DNA? Who was this man? Could the technician have made a mistake? Though Carl had observed the process, something could have gone wrong. Maybe Brian Brinkley had a rare disorder that stopped the production of his saliva and he ironed his fingertips. One never knew the mind of homicidal maniacs.
I understand your concern, but I performed the tests myself after the initial tests were performed. The results were the same. Would you like me to send one of our people out to collect new samples?
Can you tell me anything about the blood on the keys?
No, sir. We focused solely on matching the swabs with the blood as you requested. We will run further testing once we have a sample of your suspect's DNA.
How fast can one of your staff be here? If I don't have something to hold this guy on, he's going to walk the minute he lawyers up.
I can have someone there within the hour.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Hodgins, for your timely assistance.
Goodbye, Detective Lambert.
Carl hung up the telephone and let out a frustrated sigh. He knew the second set of results would mimic the first. The lab technician had followed by the book procedures in securing the first set of samples. The flaw hadn't been in the man performing the tests, but in the one who had opened his mouth. Though he couldn't put his finger on it, Carl knew something about his suspect stood apart from the rest he'd seen. His composure had been solid, even when the allegations had been brutal and graphic. The man hadn't cracked once in the entire 3 hours Carl had worked him over. Brian Samuel Brinkley. Every instinct Carl had reared up and shouted something about Brian didn't add up. The time had come to dig a little deeper and see if he couldn't shake something loose. He'd start with the victim that got away. He had to break the hold Brian had on her and get her talking about what really happened that morning. The first thing he'd find out was if Mr. Brinkley had threatened her in any way or had some mysterious hold over her ability to trust the police. It only took him a moment to find her telephone number, and then he dialed it. She picked up on the third ring.
Hello?
Ms. Nash? He asked.
Who is calling?
This is Detective Lambert again. I'd like to ask you a few more questions if you have time to come down to the precinct. She sighed but said,
I'm not far from the station. I can come now if it's convenient.
That would be great. I'll see you soon.
Okay.
He looked at the board one more time and reaffirmed his vow he'd make the bastard pay for harming the women under Carl's care. This county, this town, these were his people. He'd do whatever it took to ensure their safety. No one. Not some man who didn't exist beyond 5 years ago. A mute who refused to cooperate or answer a single question directed at him in 3 verbal languages and American Sign Language. Or the one responsible for the repulsive acts would stand in Carl's way of protecting his city.